Hey, it's Kesha. Welcome and welcome back. So let's just begin where we begin, and then we'll get into it. So let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in, letting it out. And just take a few more deep breaths at your own pace, just releasing the busyness of the day, the week. Feeling yourself present in this time and space, in your body at this moment. Releasing anything out there, releasing all the nonsense and busyness. Just let all of that go. Lovingly and gently call all of your power back. Now feel yourself more whole. And now see a column of white light coming down over you. Breathe in that light. Just feel it enveloping you all around. Breathe it in, allowing it to support you, calm you, make you feel at ease. If there's anything that doesn't resonate with your highest and best self, just breathe into it and surround it with this white light. Feel yourself clean, clear, whole, and at ease. When you're ready, open your eyes. Great. So, the dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul, it's one of those periods of time, and it varies in time, right? It's not necessarily a day or a week. It's as long as it takes, right? It's that 40 days and 40 nights we hear about in the Bible where Jesus is wondering, like he's finished his tests and his studies and he's about to start his ministry and fulfill his purpose. And he's having, these questions and doubts and trying to figure all these things out, which is generally what's happening to us. And it takes as long as it takes, right? 40 years in the desert that the Israelites spent after they had been, liberated from bondage in Egypt, before they're able to move into their promised land. 40 is that number metaphysically of things taking as long as they take, right? And so with the dark night of the soul, it lasts for as long as it lasts, and it comes upon us whenever it comes upon us at the moment we're about to break through and move into our next space, right? Where what we have been experiencing, what has come before, has been a time of preparation. And before we break through, where on the other side of that breakthrough is going to be the integration of all of that knowledge, there's this moment of shedding the old, right? Because we're no longer a student. But we haven't stepped into full mastery because we're not living that experience yet. So it's that liminal space in between. And it can be particularly difficult because we're shedding old layers of the self. And it usually looks like a revisiting of the hardest lessons that we've had to learn, or a sense of frustration that we haven't been able to move forward. And it's acute and it's deep, right? It may be this, like, everything in my life is falling apart, calamity after calamity, or one major calamity that is, touching a lot of aspects of your life. And, when it first starts to happen, we don't see it as, oh, this is the dark night of the soul coming at me. No. It looks like shit is falling apart. What the fuck? Right? What's going on? Why is this happening to me? Why is this so hard? Why aren't I there yet? Why is this taking so long? Why have I failed? Right? It's painful. It looks like hurt, right? It feels like disappointment. And it usually requires some sense of, some amount of isolation, because it's hard to be in the world when you're having this type of thing happen. And I would say with this, embrace it, right? Embrace the isolation, because this isn't the time to be out in public, right? You don't have anything good to say. The first question somebody's going to ask you is, hey, how you doing? I'm shit. My life is crap right now. That's not how we start a conversation. That's not going to work. Besides, when, and I don't say that we need to go through things in private. If you need help, reach out. Full stop, right? But there also needs to be, and this is always this lesson of discernment, an understanding that what you're going through is for you, and it's not necessarily appropriate for you to talk about it with everyone, right? And dissipating your energy, because you need that energy to reflect and to hold yourself and grow in the experience. So it may look like, yeah, I don't feel like being public now. Or if you have to be public, you're not giving broad access to all parts of yourself. You're showing up just enough to be present and get what needs to be done. But you're not leaving room for that extra interaction, or inviting, the peering eyes and that sort of thing, and the judgment that might come along with it. Again, though, like, I encourage discernment, because again, I'm not saying that you have to go through something bad, you have to go through it alone. But telling everybody your problems, when just because somebody asks you how are you doing doesn't mean they're necessarily interested, that's not helpful, right? If you have a trusted confidant, a trusted person that you can talk to about things, that's different, because sometimes we need to talk things out. But I think what you discover, because dark nights of the soul and breakthrough, it's the dark night of the soul, the darkest before the dawn, right? Happens often throughout our lives. And maybe especially when you're on this, this path of self-discovery, when you're initially meeting them, you need to talk about it with people, because you need to get some insight, and sharing can be a way to help lessen the burden, as well as get valuable insight from someone who might be wiser and more experienced than you in that particular situation. And that can be helpful. But as you go through life and you overcome, or you move through the breakthrough, and then you gain another bit of learning, and then you're at the dark night of the soul again, because you're about to move into the next phase of life, you find that maybe it's your own counsel that you need to keep, and that's a lesson too that you'll learn. And again, it's discernment, and each experience will teach you what you need to do, and how you need to respond. So what's important in those moments is to take that initial lesson, right? If there's a voice inside of you saying, I need to keep my own counsel, because in the past your pattern has been to run to other people to try to help you solve your problems, then the reason these problems might be coming up is because you've had enough training now, and it's time for you to learn how to do this on your own, for you to be your own counsel, to find that counsel within. So you'll have to be discerning in understanding which, what's appropriate and what isn't. That's why in your regular times, meditation is important. Having that open channel to source so that you can hear your guidance clearly is so important. And then while you're in it, because it hurts and at first it catches you off guard, and it's like all these, like I said, these calamitous things, and why is this happening to me? And the temptation is to, I got to get through this as quickly as possible. This has to end, right? And we try to rush through the experience because it hurts, one, and two, because we're kind of indoctrinated with this idea that I have to be cheery and happy and everything has to be good all the time. But the truth is, one of the laws of the universe is that there is ebb and flow, right? The day and night, regardless of how they look, still take their equal 12 hours, right? There is a balance and rhythm to the cycles of life, as there's balance and rhythm to, other cycles that we're familiar with. And so it's not about wishing you were through it, because what is happening to you and for you, and we need to remember that these things are all happening for us, not to us, are happening. It's part of the growth cycle, right? When the seed is in the ground and it's been covered with dirt, okay, it's dark and it's been covered and it's cold and it's doing its thing for the longest time. And it finally gets to the point where it's just about to break through to the surface. That's when it's got to effort the hardest, right? But knowing that on the other side of that is it's broken through the soul and it now gets to live openly in the light. We don't rush that process. We don't rush our seeds, right? We allow, when we plant them, we give them their resources. We give them adequate light, water, air, fertilizer, and we allow time, right, for all of those things to work together for the seed to come into fruition. And it's the same with us. We've taken in all of the resources that are about us, right? We've been watered, we've been fed, we stand in the light and all of those things. And our little seed is growing. We are growing. And now is that time where it's a little bit harder, right? We're shedding, we're bursting through the seed pod, right? And that shell that was around us that is hard, it was protective for a while, right? It was protecting us. It was of value. But now we've outgrown it. We need to grow beyond it. And so we have to break through it. And there is no rushing that process, right? And it has its own value, because the strength that we demonstrate in the breaking forth is also the same strength that we're going to need to stand upright in the sun. Okay. So when it starts and we don't know what it is, and we're like, but then we're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I know what this is. We're not going to rush through it. We'll recognize, yes, this too shall pass, but we're not trying to make it happen any sooner because we want to be through the pain. That pain has something to teach us. And that's where being present with it, like whatever it is for you that's coming up, if it's the revisiting of past lessons, or, you struggled with the same type of issue, over and over and over again, and you're about to level up to the next level where that struggle won't be part of the next level. The dark night of the soul in this case is going to be a bigger test over those same issues. And so for all of the previous times that you've had to go through it and all of the lessons that you learned, this is your chance to demonstrate mastery over it, right? So we're not going to wish it away. We're going to step into it. We're going to look at it. We're going to acknowledge it for what it is. And we'll sit with that pain and why is it here, and ask, what has it been teaching us? What has it revealed to us about ourselves? And now that we have this knowledge and awareness, what are we ready to leave behind, right? But those things don't happen instantly, and we shouldn't wish it away and not look at it thinking that, okay, it'll be better tomorrow. Because it will be better tomorrow, yes, but not because we ignored it. Here's the thing. If we don't recognize that we're repeating the same lesson, if we don't recognize that it's coming back to teach us something, or to ask us, are we finally done with it? To demonstrate that, yes, we are done with this. We have learned all that we can from it. It's given us, a strength in our character that we didn't have before. If we don't apply all of our lessons, if we don't learn all the lessons, if we don't take in the moment in its entirety, then there'll be remnants of it that are still out there, things that are left as loose ends that we'll have to repeat again to tie up at some other time. And if you're already going through it and it's already that hard and it's already been too much, then why on earth would we want to revisit it again, right? So best to go ahead and allow to be in it and see it for what it is, appreciate it for this opportunity that it is for you to demonstrate mastery, for you to finally decide, okay, I'm done with this. I don't want to repeat this lesson again. What is it that I need to learn so I can move on? Like, ask those questions. But there's also a certain practicality, like, because this is obviously very clearly a deeply spiritual experience, but we are still human beings. And we're having to navigate this earthly existence, even though, we're ascending to something greater in the spiritual. And if you've seen other of my videos, then some of this is going to be repetitious, and that's okay, because, each time we repeat it, it gets stronger. We hear it better. We hear it differently. And that's great. But one of the first things, the practical steps that we need to do is, are we drinking enough water, right? Because when we start to get down and depressed, we tend to forget the basics. And drinking water is one of the most basics. And there are some other things I'm going to recommend here. So, I'll put a little medical disclaimer out there. I am not this is not to be intended as medical advice. If you are in need of medical assistance, please seek it from trusted sources. But going back to water, you want to stay hydrated. Water with a little bit of sea salt to give you those extra minerals to help you absorb the water better is a good idea. With a little bit of lemon so that it's a little more alkaline. I know that lemon tastes acidic, but it metabolizes alkaline. That's why we recommend it. If you like drinking electrolytes, drink electrolytes, not with additional sugars, but just straight electrolytes, including more magnesium, because that's a mineral that we're critically low on. And some of the signs of low magnesium is irritability, stress, tense muscles, muscle spasms, trouble sleeping, things like that. So drinking or taking a magnesium supplement can help ease some of that, which will help you move through the experience a little bit easier. It might be hard, but going outside and getting some fresh air is a good idea. Getting some sunlight is also good. If getting off the couch or getting out of bed is a little too much, then taking a few deep breaths. Just because when we're going through something, we tend to breathe very shallow, and we're not getting enough oxygen. We're not getting that freshness about us. We need to shake it up a little bit, and taking a few deep breaths can help give us a fresh burst of energy, so at least we can do one thing, right? And not feel so low. It just helps increase our vibration just that little bit. So taking deep breaths, and next to that is going outside and getting fresh air. So if you're going to go outside to get fresh air, that includes movement. So movement in any form can be helpful, because our emotions and the things we're going through tend to get stuck in the body. And if we're going through it and we're trying to shed the past, or old lessons and old layers of self, a snake is going to have to wriggle and writhe to get that old skin off. We need to wiggle, writhe, and move as well to break up and shake off that stagnant energy that we're moving out of. So movement can be simple things like just taking a walk. It could be stretching, doing yoga, swimming, whatever it is, like movement. I mean, it can be dance, doesn't matter. You just need to move the body. If you can get the heart rate up and breathe a little deeper, that's even better, because then you're more likely to release endorphins. But at whatever level, what makes sense for you, apply movement, right? Sleep and rest, you need that. And I know when it's interesting to rest. When we're going through these periods, we're already low energy, and we might be napping, but the sleep isn't restful and it's not restorative. And so it's kind of like, yeah, I slept, but I don't feel better. And that's where, not staying up too late, especially if you're mindlessly scrolling or watching TV, give yourself a routine, take a shower to rinse it off, rinse it off you, get into fresh sheets, and try to go to bed at a more reasonable hour. Allow yourself to wake up with the sun, or let the natural rhythms kind of help influence your rhythm as best you can, depending on what your situation looks like. But giving more attention to your sleep hygiene can be indicated, and again, that's where the drinking more water helps, and the magnesium can be of benefit. Also, eating better. If the tendency is to self-medicate with food, this isn't the time for excess sugar, right? Processed foods, while they give that immediate rush, aren't good for you in your mental health long term, right? And they don't give you they don't give you the space to have that clarity that you need. So eating as best you can during these periods can be helpful. I know it's tempting to eat the chocolate cake because you're not feeling good, and cake makes you feel better, but that feeling better is only going to be for a limited time. And taking the time for fresh juice or a fresh salad, or cooking a nice meal for yourself, something that's healthy and nourishing and fortifying, ultimately gives you more than that quick fix. If I hadn't already explained this, but the same with drugs, it's easy to want to, especially on the spiritual path, to try to medicate through smoking weed, or Blue Lotus, since that seems to be the thing, or mushrooms to put you in an altered state, or maybe now is the time to do an ayahuasca. No, it's not. Nature's chemicals have their place along the spiritual journey and to help you unfold, but going through the dark night of the soul is probably not going to be the best time for it, because you are already shedding. You've already positioned yourself to ascend to the next level. The chemical that you add isn't necessarily going to be a benefit to shedding or ascending, because that's still something you need to do for yourself. And if you've relied on a chemical to do it, then you're still going to have to repeat the lesson. It might not have the same form, but you're still going to have to learn to do it on your own at some point. So, and aside from the chemical drugs, then certainly the social media and the phone and the technological one is something you'd have to square with as well. So if you can, stay off of social media or lessen its input, then you can also lessen its impact, when really you need to be spending time with yourself. Enough has happened and you're playing it in your mind anyway, that if you're not giving attention to it, it's playing while you're doom scrolling. You're not giving yourself an opportunity to really metabolize and assess what's before you, that's brought you to where you are, that you're having this experience. There's something to be said for, having the TV on and it, zoning out in front of it. But again, we come back to discernment. You'll know when you're scrolling as avoidance, and procrastination, or, escaping, as opposed to, I'm letting my mind, calculate while I'm doing something else. You know the difference, and you need to be aware of that, and not do things that are going to take away from the blessing that is the experience of the dark night of the soul, because it is a blessing. We don't have rites of initiation like maybe cultures have in the past, and dark nights of the soul are portals of initiation, leaving one level of awareness and moving to the next phase of experiences. And the more present we can be in making space for it, allowing it, not resisting it, and bringing all of us and our awareness to it, then the more beneficial the experience is for us. The more it has to teach us, the stronger it makes us, and the better we are for it. And the thing that you have to know as you're going through all of this is, yes, this too shall pass. Because just like the night demands its 12 hours and the day will come, the sun will rise. And that's something to look forward to. It won't always be this bad. It won't always feel like this. It won't always hurt so much. It won't, we will, because we've decided to live and move through it, we know that on the other side of it is something waiting for us. That's something that we've wanted. It's to our benefit. It's to our greater glory. And we have to remember that all of the experiences that we've had along this spiritual journey are for our benefit. And so tomorrow will come, right? And we don't have to wish it here sooner, because we already know it's coming. But we can trust that, yes, this too shall pass. It will be better. And then one day it does, and one day it is, and there we are. Here we are. So that, my friends, is my message for you today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any love and support, leave that in the comments for sure. Yeah. Cool. I will see you in the next one, and I will send you my love in the meantime. Bye.